Hi guys, this is Victor, and I'll be taking us on the introduction to JavaScript. All right. In this, some of us will be like asking this question: why JavaScript? Why should I learn JavaScript? Right now, in modern web development, you have to know the basic of three languages or three languages that are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript before doing any other thing, because they are like the platform from which you can build on or leverage on in other languages. Right, so without much further ado, let us get into the next thing. Right, so now this course will be spanning for 5 weeks. Yeah, this tutorial course will be spanning for 5 weeks, and the first week we'll just go into the introduction. The second week we'll talk about the building blocks of a program. The third week we'll talk about programming paradigms. Fourth week we'll be talking about installation and npm packages testing. Right, we'll be looking at how we can install our npm packages. Then in the fifth week we'll do two projects that will test us on what we have done so far. So let's go in details what we are going to be doing for the first week. Now for the first week we'll be introduced into programming. Here you'll be able to write your first code in JavaScript. We'll know about variables, right? How to use variables. Now we'll talk about data types, numbers, strings, Boolean operators, right? Now we'll also learn how to write statements in JavaScript, right? And write conditional statements too. We'll talk about the for and the while loops and how to perform repetitive tasks with loops. Now with this we'll conclude for the first week. Now for the second week, we'll be talking about the building blocks of a program. Here we'll talk about functions. JavaScript is almost all about functions, right? We'll talk about functions, storing of data in arrays. We'll talk about building and calling on functions. Here we'll know how to use functions. We'll talk about objects and object literals. We'll talk about array versus object, how is array similar to object, or what are the difference. Here we'll know what arrays are and what objects are, what the difference. Talk about object methods, different methods in JavaScript. So here we'll talk about the type of, talk about error prevention. Error prevention in the sense that whatever you're doing, in life, whatever you're doing, there are chances that you might encounter error. So now this part uh, um, is to help us understand some errors you can encounter in JavaScript, right? And how to prevent them. So on the third week, we'll be talking about programming paradigms. Yeah, we'll be introduced into functional programming, introduction into scope. Now, this scoping with var, let, and const was that variable we talked about in the beginning. Yeah. So now these let and const were the later versions that were introduced in year 6 TypeScript. Yeah, the earlier later versions, but the var was an older version, right? So without we were going into OOP principles, object-oriented program principles. So we'll talk about classes, constructor inheritance, polymorphism, and so on. Yeah, we'll learn how to describe an object-oriented program. We'll learn how to structure arrays and objects. Yeah, then we'll learn how to use templates, literals. We'll use the spread and the rest operators. Then we'll talk about JavaScript selectors and how to handle events in JavaScript, right? Here we will use the onClick, we use the onChange. This onClick will sound familiar. We use the onChange, use the onFocus, etc. and all. So then we'll be going to the fourth week where we'll learn how to install our npm packages and the node. Now we'll learn how to work with our JavaScript environment, install npm, talk about type of testing, unit testing, integration testing, and so on. Then we get introduced to jest and write some tests with jest, right? Then with that we are going to the final and last week where we'll talk about or when we'll build two projects. Yeah, the form validation with JavaScript, the form validation on the client side with JavaScript precisely, then a calculated project. So basically, these 5 weeks, we're just going to be learning this, and don't worry if some of the terminologies used in this video, you didn't understand any of them. I mean, that's why you are watching the video. So just stay with us, stick with us, and trust me, when you reach the 5th week, you're going to understand so much more of JavaScript that will help you in your web development career. So catch you later in the next video. Chop chop.